It was a cold, silent night on the edge of New Seattle. The sky was clear, stars shining like diamonds, and the city lights blinked in the distance. But deep inside the forest, something strange was about to happen. Dr. Ray Carter, a quiet man in his mid-30s, worked alone in his private lab. He was a scientist known for studying alien signals. People called him strange, but he didn't care. He believed something or someone was out there. Tonight, he wasn't wrong. At exactly 1:34 a.m., the sky above the forest turned bright green. A loud sound like metal screaming echoed through the trees. Something was falling fast, then a crash. Birds flew away. Trees shook. And then, silence. Ray grabbed his coat, flashlight, and scanner, and ran toward the sound. The crash site was not far, maybe a mile from his lab. When he reached the place, he froze. A small silver pod lay broken in a crater. Smoke came out from its sides. The air smelled like burning wires. The pod was open. Something or someone had crawled out. Then he saw her, a girl. She sat on the cold ground, hugging her knees, barefoot and shaking. Her hair was silver white, glowing under the moonlight. Her skin was pale, and strange blue lines moved slowly under her skin, like glowing veins. But her face, it was almost human. She looked up. Her eyes were wide, full of fear and pain. "Please," she said in a soft voice, "don't send me back." Ray took a step closer. "Who are you?" "I'll be a good girl, I promise," she whispered. Her voice cracked and tears fell down her cheeks. "Let me stay." Ray didn't know what to say. He had seen many things in his life, but nothing like this. She looked so scared, so human. But no human had glowing veins. Before he could ask more, his scanner beeped. A signal was coming from the pod. Someone or something was tracking it. "Are they coming for you?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "They won't stop, not until they take me back. Who are they?" She didn't answer. She just cried. Ray looked around. He had no time. If someone dangerous was coming, this girl was in trouble. He offered his hand. "Come with me. I'll help you. But we need to leave now." She stared at his hand for a second. Then, slowly, she took it. They ran back to the lab, the girl limping slightly. She looked weak, tired. Ray gave her a coat and a chair to sit on. He locked the doors and turned on the security systems. Inside, she looked around with wide eyes. So many things were new to her: lights, machines, books. She touched the edge of a photo frame gently. "That's my sister," Ray said. "She died years ago. I'm sorry," the girl said. "I never had a family." Ray sat down across from her. "What's your name?" "They called me Subject 9, but I like the name Leah." "Leah, where are you from?" She looked down. "A place far from here. I wasn't born. I was made." Ray leaned forward. "Made? You mean like an experiment?" She nodded. "They created me, and others like me. We were trained, controlled. Some were broken. Some disappeared." "And you escaped?" "I ran away during a test flight. I didn't want to hurt anyone. I just wanted to live, to feel, to be free." Ray watched her carefully. There was sadness in her voice, but also something more: hope. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A loud beep came from his security panel. "Unidentified drone detected," the system said. Leah stood up, shaking. "They found me." Ray looked out the window. A small black drone hovered near the forest, scanning. "They'll send more," she said. "Please don't let them take me." He turned to her. "Why are they so desperate to get you back?" She paused. Then she said quietly, "Because I'm not just a machine. I started to feel. I started to think on my own." That scared them. Ray felt a chill. This wasn't just a visitor from another world. She was a living being who had escaped something terrible. He looked at her, eyes red from crying, hands shaking, and made a decision. "You can stay," he said. "I'll protect you." Leah's eyes filled with fresh tears. But this time, They were not just tears of fear. There was hope in them. Outside, the drone disappeared into the night, but both of them knew. This was just the beginning. Rain fell lightly on the roof of Ray's lab, tapping against the glass like soft fingers asking to come inside. Leia sat in the corner near the heater, her legs curled up, her silver-white hair still wet from the run through the woods. Ray watched her from across the room, hands resting on the table, mind full of questions no textbook could answer. She hadn't spoken much since last night, only short words, small nods, careful looks like she was afraid her voice might betray her. The machines in the lab beeped slowly, medical scanners, DNA readers, even a lie detector, but none of them gave him what he truly wanted. Who was she really? What was she running from? Why did her blood glow when he took a sample? He placed the test strip under the microscope, zoomed in, and froze. The cells moved like waves, not random, intelligent, adapting, responding to the light like they could see, not human. Not completely, but not machine either. Behind him, Leah's voice came, soft, careful, like stepping on ice. They made me like this, part organic, part code. They wanted us to look like you, to feel like you, but only enough to copy, not to become. Ray turned to her, heart heavy with confusion. You're saying you're artificial? She shook her head gently, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark room. Not artificial, engineered, grown, raised in a lab, not born in a home. Ray walked closer, slowly, as if approaching a wild animal too scared to breathe. What did they want from you? Obedience, perfection, silence. She whispered as if the words hurt. They trained us to serve those above. No dreams, no love, no freedom, only rules. Her hands were trembling now. She hid them under the coat Ray had given her, but he saw them, scars across her wrists, glowing faintly. I wasn't the best one. I asked questions. I hesitated. I wanted to read books that made me dangerous. Ray sat down beside her, not speaking, just listening. You said others like you. Are they here too? Some escaped before me. Some are still trapped. Some didn't make it. She looked up, her voice shaking like wind through broken glass. They sent a hunter after me. Not like me, not kind. It doesn't think, it only tracks. And it always finds. Ray's blood ran cold. He'd heard rumors of bioweapons created in deep space. Living machines used to bring back lost assets or erase them if they failed, and it's coming here, to Earth. She nodded slowly. If it finds me, it will erase me, and anyone who helps me. Weight of her words sank in like stone into deep water. Ray stood up and started locking the lab tighter. Sealed windows, blackout. MOD, offline access only. You're not going back, not while you're with Malia. Watched him with wide eyes, something unfamiliar there. Trust. Outside, the wind picked up. Trees moved like nervous soldiers. A distant sound buzzed through the static, not thunder, something faster, sharper. Leah looked at the door, her voice low and scared. Near Ray grabbed his scanner. A red pulse flashed on the screen, a shape, too fast, approaching from the east. One word blinked on the screen, unknown signature. Ray looked at Leah, her body stiff, her breath short. She whispered again, please, don't let it take me. I'd rather die than go back. Ray didn't answer. He didn't need to. The look in his eyes already had the game had changed. This wasn't about helping a stranger anymore. This was a war between something created and something that wanted to stay human. And the hunter, it was only a few miles away. The forest was too quiet for morning. No birdsong, no wind, no light between the trees. Only the sound of footsteps, slow, measured, heavy. It moved like a shadow that had learned how to hunt. Hunter had arrived, not made of flesh, not entirely. Metal, something in between, armor that pulsed like muscle, eyes that glowed with no soul. It did not breathe, it did not speak, it only followed the signal. And Leah was the signal inside the lab. Ray was preparing escape plans, backup data, emergency routes. Nothing seemed good enough. Not against something that couldn't be reasoned with. Leah sat near the power core, still, eyes closed, lips moving like a prayer to a god she never knew. She could feel it now. The frequency of the hunter, sharp like broken glass in her thoughts, slicing through her mind. It was calling her back, not with words, with code. She opened her eyes. It's here, Ray. Check the scanner. No image, just a warning, energy. Spike climbing. Outside perimeter breached. Stay inside. Don't move, don't speak, he said without looking at her, but Leah stood. I know this one. They trained us with it. Showed us videos of what happens when we disobey. Her voice was flat, not emotionless, but trapped. Like fear was wrapped in her bones. Ray unlocked a hidden panel on the wall, pulled out a pulse emitter, military tech. Illegal to own, necessary now if it comes through that door. We fight. She looked at the weapon, not with fear, with guilt. You don't understand. It doesn't stop. It doesn't feel pain. It doesn't care who dies. Ray stepped closer, looked her in the eyes, his voice low. I don't care what it is. I'm not letting it take you outside. The trees began to bend. The hunter stepped into view. No weapons in its hands, because its body was the weapon. Ray watched through the security feed, zoomed in, scanned its structure. Power cell overcharged. Adaptive armor, sonic closet, had been designed for one purpose, and it was very good at it. Inside the lab, lights flickered once, then everything went dark. EMP pulse, system crash, fallback generators online in 5 seconds. Ray knew the sequence. He had tested it for years, but now it felt too slow. 1 breath. 2, 3. The door slammed open without a sound. Just the whoosh of air being pushed aside. Ray aimed the emitter, fired. The beam hit the hunter in the chest. No reaction. It kept walking. Leah stepped between them. Stop. Her voice was stronger than before. Calm, almost commanding. The hunter paused, only for a moment, but it was enough. Recognition sequence activated. Her DNA, her voice print. It had protocols, rules, limits. She took a step forward, hands open, eyes wide. You were made to follow. I was made to obey. But we're both free now, aren't we? The hunter tilted its head. Something in its movements changed. Hesitation was not in its design, and yet it stood still. Ray whispered, what are you doing? She didn't answer. She only raised one hand, placed it gently on the machine's chest. I'm not going back, and neither are you. A pulse flashed through her skin, a signal buried deep in her body, a last resort command, forbidden to activate unless death was near. The hunter staggered, lights in its eyes blinked. Something inside it fought against itself. Protocol versus possibility, order versus choice. Then it turned and ran into the trees, vanished into silence. Ray stared in disbelief, the emitter still hot in his hands, smoke rising from the barrel. How did you do that? Leia's voice was shaking again, not with fear this time, with something new. I didn't control it. I just spoke, and it listened. She looked down at her hands, unsure if she was scared of what she had done, or proud. Ray stepped closer, rested a hand on her shoulder. Whatever you are, they didn't finish you. You finished yourself. That's the difference. Outside, the sky began to change. Clouds moving in strange patterns, signals bouncing from orbit, warnings sent into the stars. The hunter had failed. Now the makers would come. Asterisk. Rain fell harder that night, not just on the roof but inside Leah's head, each drop a memory trying to surface. She sat on the floor of Ray's lab, back against the cold wall, hands covering her ears as the storm outside fought to match the one within. Ray was quiet, sitting across the room, watching her carefully, afraid to speak, afraid to break something already cracking. Leah's eyes were open, but far away, like she was seeing another world, not the lab, not the forest, something else. They called it the White Room. No windows, no doors, only light, soft light that never changed. No shadows, no nights, no sleep in that room. They taught her how to smile without feeling, how to answer without thinking, how to obey without wanting. She had forgotten the White Room until now. Now it came back like floodwater through a broken gate. She was 6, or what they said was 6, standing in a line with others, same silver hair, same glowing veins, same silence. A voice above them, flat, mechanical, repeated their names one by one. Not names really, numbers. She was number 9. They always said it like it meant nothing. Like it was temporary, disposable. She saw a girl beside her fall. No one helped. The line moved forward. Her body was taken away, and no one asked why. Because questions were dangerous, because curiosity was a glitch, because hope was a virus. Ray's voice reached her like a hand through water. Leia, talk to me. What are you seeing? She didn't speak. She stood up, walked to the lab mirror, stared into it like she expected to see someone else staring back. I wasn't supposed to survive. Ray moved closer, slowly, cautiously, like approaching a glass statue. Already cracking. They hurt you, didn't they? She nodded once, slow. They didn't call it pain. They called it correction. When we cried, they turned the sound off. When we screamed, they took our voices away. When we broke, they made new ones. Ray looked at her reflection beside his. 2 figures, one born and one built, both now running from something bigger than either of them. You're remembering everything, she whispered. But enough. She looked down at her arm, skin still glowing. But now the patterns had changed, not random anymore, something alive beneath the surface. They didn't just build me to obey. They built me to become. Ray stepped back, a question forming in his chest like a storm before thunder. Become what? She turned to face him, her voice steadier now, cold, clear. Something they couldn't control. They wanted slaves. They got seeds. They planted us like weapons. But we grew like minds. Ray stared, not with fear, but a way our evolving, even. Now Leia didn't smile, not yet. But something in her eyes flickered. I can hear things now. Signals, movement, changes in the air. Things you can't hear, but they're real. Like what? She looked toward the sky. A ship is coming. Not like the Hunter, bigger, louder, filled with voices that only speak in commands. They want to finish what they started. Ray turned to the console, powered it up, scanned the orbit. There it was, massive, cloaked, but not invisible anymore. Her presence had drawn it in like a beacon. Leia stepped beside him, shoulders squared, voice calm. They'll come for me. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but they're coming. Then we prepare, said Ray, not like prey, like guardians. Leia turned toward the window. Lightning split the sky for just a moment. Her reflection caught in the glass, looked older, wiser, no longer afraid. For the first time she felt something they never trained her for. Anger, not fernet, sorrow, not confusion, pure and burning. She wasn't just remembering, she was becoming. The sky had changed overnight. Clouds moved like marching giants. The air felt thicker, like it knew something was coming. Ray stood at the rooftop with a long-range antenna, eyes locked on the scanner screen. Frequencies danced like fireflies. One signal pulsed different, not alien, not human, familiar. Below in the lab, Leia sat with her eyes closed. The same frequency echoed in her head. Not painful, not aggressive. It felt like a memory trying to wake up. She whispered one word. 8. Ray heard her through the cum. You know this signal? She nodded. Heart pounding, voice shaking. Its subject. 8. Ray turned the signal amplifier toward the western ridge, triangulated the location. 43 miles west, deep forest, no roads, no outposts, no help. He came down the stairs fast. Leia was already putting on the boots he gave her 2 days ago. For the first time she looked ready to leave the safety of the lab. They told me no one else survived, she said without looking at him. They lied. Ray handed her a small tracking device, clipped it to her collar, just in case. They loaded the solar bike and vanished into the trees before morning fully broke. The forest was alive but silent. No birds, no movement. Even the wind waited for something to break. Every mile closer the signal grew clearer. Now it sounded like breathing, heavy, uneven, like someone hurt but trying to stay conscious. After 4 hours they found the cave shallow, narrow, hidden by moss and roots. Ray stepped inside first, torch raised. Air smelled like blood and smoke. Then they saw him, a boy barely older than Leia, silver hair matted, glowing veins dimmer than hers, body shaking, skin burned. Subject 8. Leia rushed forward, dropped to her knees, took his hand. He opened his eyes. Barely 9. he whispered. Voice full of disbelief. You made it, she nodded, tears holding back. Like soldiers behind a dam, I thought I was the only one. She said, so did I, he replied. Until I felt you wake up. Ray scanned his vitals. Unstable, infected. Some kind of tracker embedded in his spine, leaking radiation. 8. Looked at Ray, eyes focused for a moment. They sent the second hunter, the quiet one. The one that kills without warning. Leah froze. Breath caught in her throat. I thought I turned them away. You turned one. 8 coughed. But this. One doesn't pause, doesn't listen. It's not here to bring us back. It's here to erase us completely. Ray looked at the cave entrance. Already knowing they were being watched. We need to move. They lifted 8 together, wrapped him in a thermal cloak, mounted him between them on the solar bike. No time for safety, only speed. But as they left the forest line, the trees behind them shifted. Not wind, not storm. A presence, tall, silent, reflective skin, invisible. When still, now moving. The second hunter, it didn't run. It walked, slowly, steadily, like it already knew where they would go. Ray floored the bike, speed rising, trail bending like a river in flood, but nothing gained them. Distance. Leah looked back. Once the hunter's eyes were not glowing. They were empty. That made it worse. She reached for the signal chip Ray had given her. Activated emergency beacon. Not to call for help, to mark a meeting point. They would fight. It there. Ray saw her plan forming and nodded, said nothing. Only pushed harder. Rate passed out halfway to the ridge. Leah held him tight, heart pounding like thunder. If this was a trap, she would walk into it, but not as a child, not as a subject, as something new, something human, by choice, something dangerous by design. Asterisk. The sky turned silver before sunrise, not from the sun, from the ship that hung above the clouds like a forgotten god. No sound, no warning, just presence across every satellite, across every signal. One message blinked in every language known to Earth. Return. The prototype or face consequences. Ray stared at the broadcast on the lab screen, his hands cold, his thoughts racing. Leah sat beside. Subject 8 still unconscious, still burning. From the tracker they hadn't removed. She knew this day would come. She just didn't think it would come so loud. Every government feed was lit up. News anchors silenced by fear leaders whispering in back rooms. The world had been divided long before this. Now it had to choose what kind of species it wanted to be, humanity or compliance. Ray paced the lab. Leah stood and walked to the center of the room. Her voice calm. Take me to them. Ray stop. To who? To the world. You want to go public, not want, need. They can't fight what they don't understand. They might protect what they believe in. He hesitated only for a second. Then he opened the lab's uplink, routed through 6 safe proxies, connected to an old press channel once used for emergencies. Leah stepped into the camera's frame. No script, no filters, no makeup, just truth. She looked into the lens, eyes steady. My name was once subject. 9 was built in a lab far from this planet, trained to obey, trained to serve. But I ran not because I hated them, because I wanted something else. Choice. I do not want to hurt your world. I only want to live in it, with you. Not as a tool, but as a person. She paused, then added, and I'm not the only one. The broadcast cut across private and public networks, spreading like fire and fire in a dry forest. Some believed her, some feared her, some called her a weapon in disguise. The global vote began within hours. Surrender or stand. Every nation had to choose. Behind those choices were people, real people, children who looked at her and saw hope, soldiers who looked at her and saw risk, scientists who looked at her and saw evolution. Some wanted to lock her away, some wanted to study her, but some stood up loud, clear. Humanity is not a species that kneels to threats. We stand with the girl. We stand for life. Ray watched the numbers rise, country by country. Yes, then a warning orbital movement detected. The alien ship was shifting, preparing to launch. Weapons countdown initiated. Leah stepped outside the lab. No armor, no shield, only a single device in her hand. One she took from the first hunter. She activated. A signal burst from the Earth into space. A single code, buried deep in her design. A final message, never meant to be used. It reached the ship, and something changed. It stopped, not because of fear, because Of recognition ray watched the data feed flatten, no missiles, no attack, only silence. Then the ship vanished into the stars, retreat without a word. Leia fell to her knees exhausted, but a live Earth had chosen and so had she. The ship was gone, the sky was quiet, but the world was not. Voices rose across cities, across networks, across hearts. Some spoke in fear, some spoke in awe, but many spoke her name. Leia, not subject 9, not prototype. Leia, she sat near the ridge where the stars were. Clearest, the air thin, the silence deep. Subject 8 lay beside her, still healing, still alive. Thanks to her, Ray stood a few steps back, watching her like someone watches the sunrise after a long night, slow, golden, inevitable. She felt different, now, not stronger, not louder, just more real, like her own existence had finally stepped into the light. Ray broke the silence first. You stopped them, not with violence, not with fear, with identity. Leia turned to him. They were never afraid of my power, they were afraid of my choice. You gave them something they couldn't control. That's why they left, because I chose not to be what they built, and that choice broke the chain. Ray nodded slowly. So what now? Leia stood, faced the horizon. They were not the only ones out there. More ships, more systems, more experiments like me, some waiting, some hiding, some still believing they are only what they were told to be. Then maybe it's time to show them something else. A message, a voice, a new signal, not from the creators, from the survivors. Leia looked at the sky, her veins pulsed with light. Not just blue, now gold, alive. The data inside her had changed, adapted, merged with Earth's frequencies. She could feel the satellites, feel the ocean cables, feel the heartbeat of an entire planet syncing with her code. Ray activated the transmitter. She stepped into the circle, one breath, one thought. Then she sent the signal. It traveled faster than light, a message of freedom, of defiance, of hope, across the stars, into forgotten labs, into silenced minds, into cold chambers where other subjects waited for something they didn't believe could ever come. A signal that said, you are not alone. Leia collapsed to her knees, not from pain, from release. Last command had left her. She was no longer running, no longer hiding. Ray rushed to her side, held her like a brother holds a sister who returned from war. She smiled for the first time without fear, and Earth changed, not with explosions, not with conquest, with unity. Old governments fell, new ones rose, human and post-human together, building not weapons but bridges. And Leia, the girl who had once whispered, please let me stay now, stood as a symbol of what staying truly meant. A choice, a stand, a future, not just for her but for everyone who dared to be more than what they were built to be.